1. The minimum effective dose. In medicine, there's a well-understood idea called the minimum effective dose, or MED. It refers to the smallest amount of a drug or intervention needed to produce a desired result. Anything beyond that may be unnecessary, or worse, harmful. Timothy Ferriss borrows this principle and applies it to everything from fat loss to muscle gain to overall health. The goal isn't to do more. It's to do only what works and no more than that. This reframing is critical. In fitness culture, the dominant mindset is often more is better. More reps, more hours at the gym, more complicated diets. But Ferriss shows that strategic minimalism often outperforms brute effort. The body responds not to volume, but to the right type of stress, delivered at the right time in the right dose. Just as boiling water doesn't get hotter after 100 degrees Celsius, doing 30 sets of bicep curls when 6 well-executed ones will do is just wasted effort. In the context of fat loss, this means finding the few key behaviors that trigger real physiological change. For Ferriss, the slow-carb diet is one such lever. It eliminates most sugars and starches while keeping eating simple and satisfying. Instead of layering on cardio or complex food tracking, he suggests focusing on consistent execution of a few specific food rules, like avoiding white carbohydrates and eating the same meals repeatedly. These rules represent the MED for diet. They deliver substantial results with minimal friction. When it comes to muscle gain, Ferriss introduces protocols like Occam's protocol, which involve very low-frequency, high-efficiency workouts. 2 sessions a week, sometimes less, targeting compound lifts with precise rest and tempo, prove to be enough, often more than enough, to stimulate growth. The secret isn't effort spread thin across many exercises, but focused stimulus that forces the body to adapt. If you lift just enough to break the muscle down and then rest long enough to let it rebuild, that's all the body needs. Doing more is not only unnecessary, it can actually slow down recovery. Ferriss also highlights how MED applies to sleep, supplementation, and even blood testing. He doesn't advocate for extreme biohacking or over-optimization, but for smart experimentation and observation. If 20 minutes of strategic light exposure in the morning can improve sleep quality more than an hour of meditation, then that's your MED. The takeaway is both freeing and challenging. It asks you to be precise, to pay attention, and to let go of the idea that progress comes only from suffering. Instead, it comes from understanding what really works for your body, and then doing just enough of it. Point 2. The slow-carb diet blueprint. The slow-carb diet is built on a simple promise: maximum fat loss with minimal complexity. It isn't about counting calories or obsessing over macros. It's a set of clear, non-negotiable rules designed to produce results quickly and sustainably for the average person with limited time and willpower. It works not because it's restrictive, but because it targets the highest leverage behaviors that actually move the needle. The core of the slow-carb diet comes down to 5 rules. 1. Avoid white carbohydrates. This includes bread, rice, even brown, cereal, potatoes, pasta, tortillas, and fried food with breading. These high glycemic carbs spike insulin, promote fat storage, and sabotage fat loss. 2. Eat the same few meals repeatedly. Choose from a short list of go-to foods in each category. Proteins like eggs, chicken breast, lean beef, legumes, lentils, black beans, pinto beans, and vegetables, spinach, broccoli, peas, etc. This reduces decision fatigue and keeps compliance high. 3. Don't drink calories. Cut out soda, fruit juice, milk, and alcohol, except for a limited amount of dry red wine. Stick to water, unsweetened tea, or black coffee. 4. No fruit. While whole fruits are healthy in moderation, their sugar content, especially fructose, can interfere with fat loss. This rule is temporary, but important during the weight loss phase. 5. Take 1 cheat day per week. Known as the dieter's gone wild day, this is not just allowed, it's encouraged. Eat anything and everything you want. Pizza, pancakes, donuts, nothing is off limits. Paradoxically, this binge serves a biological purpose. It spikes caloric intake and leptin levels, which helps prevent metabolic slowdown and plateauing. What makes the slow-carb diet so effective isn't just the rules themselves, it's how they're structured for real life. There's no portion counting, no endless meal prep, no need to cook elaborate dishes. The diet simplifies decision-making and front-loads discipline, while giving you a weekly release valve that makes long-term adherence far more likely. Ferriss supplements this protocol with a wide range of case studies, data points, and personal experiments. For instance, he documents his own 20-pound fat loss in under 30 days without exercise. He also shares stories from readers who lost over 100 pounds using this exact framework. Scientific studies on insulin sensitivity, glycemic control, and leptin response further bolster the diet's logic. Ultimately, the slow-carb diet is less about dieting in the traditional sense and more about flipping the script on how we think about food, timing, and sustainability. It's not flashy, it's not trendy, but it works, and it's built for the long haul. Point 3. Building muscle with geek precision. Occam's protocol, turns traditional muscle-building advice on its head. Instead of marathon gym sessions and endlessly varied routines, it asks a sharper question. What's the least you can do to gain the most muscle in the shortest amount of time? The answer lies in leveraging a few well-chosen exercises, managing fatigue deliberately, and tracking results with surgical precision. At its core, Occam's protocol is built around 2 short workouts per week. Each session focuses on a handful of compound lifts, such as the weighted chin-up, barbell deadlift, or machine chest press, performed slowly and to failure. The cadence matters. A 5-second lift, a 5-second lower. This tempo increases time under tension and eliminates momentum, forcing the muscle to work harder with fewer reps. The real magic, though, is in the tracking and rest. Ferriss advocates for keeping detailed notes on reps, weights, and rest periods. Not because it's obsessive, but because this is how progress is measured in clean data. If you lifted slightly more or lasted longer under load than last time, your body is adapting. If not, it's a sign something needs adjusting, either your recovery, form, or nutritional intake. Rest isn't a side note in Occam's protocol. It's a core element. Between workouts, Ferriss recommends taking 3 to 5 days off, sometimes more, depending on recovery indicators. That's not laziness, it's biology. Muscles grow during rest, not during training. By resisting the temptation to do more, you give your body the space it needs to repair and rebuild stronger. Real-world examples back this up. One participant, a self-proclaimed hard gainer named Neil, gained over 34 pounds of muscle in 28 days following the protocol. His transformation wasn't fueled by supplements or advanced techniques. It was driven by just 2 workouts per week, each under 30 minutes, combined with consistent food intake and rest. Another case, Ferriss himself added 28 pounds of muscle in a month, with no increase in body fat. He did it using machine-based lifts, slow reps, and ruthless adherence to recovery periods. No fancy gym, no secret drugs, just an optimized protocol designed for measurable outcomes. Occam's protocol isn't for gym goers looking for variety or entertainment. It's for those who want results with maximum efficiency. Every rep, every rest period, and every note in the training log is part of a controlled experiment. The goal isn't to train harder, it's to train smarter, using just enough stimulus to force adaptation, then getting out of the way while the body does its work. Point 4. Engineering better sleep. Most people treat sleep as a passive process, something that just happens at the end of the day. In the 4-hour body, Ferriss flips that assumption and treats sleep like a system you can actively tweak, optimize, and even compress without sacrificing function. For high performers and time-strapped individuals, this means fewer hours in bed without a drop in energy or cognitive sharpness. The first major insight is that not all sleep is created equal. The goal isn't more hours, it's better quality per hour. Ferriss explores ways to enter deeper stages of sleep faster and stay there longer, which means your body gets what it needs in less time. One proven strategy: control body temperature. Cooling the room to around 67 degrees Fahrenheit, 19 degrees Celsius, helps trigger deeper, uninterrupted sleep. This is backed by research on thermoregulation and its impact on sleep architecture. Another technique is light manipulation. Limiting blue light exposure in the evening by using apps like F.Lux or wearing amber-tinted glasses helps the body naturally ramp up melatonin production. Likewise, exposing yourself to natural light in the morning resets your circadian rhythm and improves nighttime sleep efficiency. Ferriss also experiments with polyphasic sleep, a controversial method that breaks the standard 7 to 8 hour block into multiple short naps. The most extreme version, the Huberman schedule, consists of 6 20-minute naps spaced evenly throughout the day. While it's not sustainable for most, modified approaches, like the everyman schedule, a core nap plus 2 to 3 smaller naps, can provide surprising mental clarity and alertness when done correctly and temporarily. When it comes to supplementation, Ferriss doesn't recommend throwing a cabinet of pills at the problem. Instead, he zeroes in on a few high-leverage options. Magnesium, especially in the form of natural calm, L-theanine, and melatonin, in low doses, around 0.3 milligrams, can each play a targeted role in promoting relaxation and smoother sleep onset. He also notes the importance of timing. Taking supplements too late may disrupt your cycle rather than help it. For tracking, Ferriss suggests using heart rate variability, HRV, body temperature, and subjective energy scores to monitor what's working. Tools like the ZO Sleep Manager, now defunct but illustrative in the book, and the Oura Ring serve as examples of how biofeedback can guide adjustments in real time. The broader message is this: sleep is not just recovery, it's a performance enhancer. By applying the same experimental mindset used in diet or exercise, you can reclaim lost hours and wake up sharper, even on fewer cycles. It's not about sleeping less out of bravado, but sleeping smarter with intent. Point 5. Upgrading your sex life and hormones. Sexual health often gets reduced to vague advice and pharmaceutical shortcuts. In the 4-hour body, Ferriss approaches it like everything else in the book. Through self-experimentation, data collection, and a relentless hunt for what actually works. The result is a candid, science-backed exploration of how to improve libido, hormone balance, and overall sexual performance, without relying on prescriptions or mysticism. Testosterone plays a central role, not just for sex drive, but for energy, mood, recovery, and even fat distribution. Ferriss dives into how to boost testosterone levels naturally, starting with simple habits: consistent sleep, heavy resistance training, especially squats and deadlifts, and dietary tweaks like increased saturated fat from clean sources, e.g., grass-fed beef, coconut oil. Zinc and vitamin D are also flagged as key micronutrients, with supplementation often needed, especially for people who live in low sunlight areas. Beyond baseline hormones, Ferriss tests the effects of timing, lifestyle changes, and even ice baths on testosterone production. One memorable protocol involves placing a cold pack on the testes for short durations. While it sounds bizarre, he provides lab results showing notable hormonal increases following the intervention. The hypothesis: cooler temperatures improve testicular function, a concept backed by some fertility research. The book also dives into libido and orgasm intensity, not just as abstract goals, but as measurable outcomes. Ferriss partners with doctors and uses blood work and anecdotal reporting to test substances like tonkat ali, maca root, and the amino acid L-arginine. Some work, others fall flat, but the emphasis is on isolating variables and testing for real-world results, not hype. One of the more unconventional experiments is with female orgasm and arousal, using tools like the Sibian machine combined with biofeedback tracking. It's clinical in tone, but rooted in human curiosity. What actually drives pleasure, and can it be enhanced systematically? Ferriss includes interviews with experts and subjects, emphasizing that sexual health is just as trainable and modifiable as physical performance. What emerges from all this is a toolkit, not a formula. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but there are clear patterns. Sleep more, lift heavy, eat real food, track your hormones, question norms, and treat sexual health as part of your overall performance, not a separate or taboo domain. The takeaway is simple: sexual vitality isn't just about luck or age. It's often a result of smart inputs and honest experimentation. Point 6. Running faster, lifting more, healing quicker. Peak physical performance isn't just about pushing harder. It's about using leverage. In the 4-Hour Body, Ferriss draws from elite coaches, sports scientists, and recovery specialists to show how small adjustments in technique, tools, and timing can unlock major gains in strength, speed, and recovery. One foundational strategy is sprinting efficiency. Ferriss worked with Olympic sprinter David Weck, founder of the Bosa Ball, to refine biomechanics for short bursts of speed. The key insight: most people run inefficiently, using wasted motion and poor posture. Drills that emphasize forward lean, foot strike under the hips, and glute activation drastically improve speed without more conditioning. In one documented case, a subject dropped his 40-yard dash time by over 0.3 seconds in just a few weeks, without any increase in leg strength. On the strength front, lifting heavier isn't always about adding more plates. Ferriss shows how advanced techniques, like static holds at the top of lifts or eccentric-only training, can increase force output while reducing joint strain. He references trainer Barry Ross, whose athletes use deadlifts and specific rest ratios to build maximal strength without bulking. It's not about training to failure, but training to precision. Recovery is where performance gains are solidified, and Ferriss emphasizes that it's often the most overlooked part of the process. Cold therapy plays a leading role here. Ice baths, cryotherapy, and targeted cold packs reduce inflammation and accelerate tissue repair. In studies and his own testing, Ferriss found cold exposure not only aided recovery, but improved sleep and fat loss, creating a performance trifecta. Mobility and injury prevention get serious attention too. Tools like foam rollers, lacrosse balls, and the PNF stretching method, contract relax stretching, are presented not as accessories, but essentials. These techniques maintain tissue health, improve range of motion, and prevent small imbalances from becoming injuries. Kelly Starrett, founder of Mobility WOD and a key contributor to the book, reinforces the importance of prehab, doing targeted work before pain starts, not after. The bigger message is this: performance isn't about brute effort. It's about applying the right intervention at the right time. Whether it's shaving milliseconds off a sprint, adding pounds to a deadlift, or coming back from soreness in half the time, the tools are already out there. What Ferriss offers is a tested roadmap, one that prioritizes effectiveness, not tradition. Point 7. Fat loss without exercise. Most fat loss advice revolve around exercise. Move more, burn more. But the 4-Hour Body offers a different lens, one where strategic, passive interventions can create the same results, often faster and with less effort. Ferriss explores how manipulating the body's internal environment, rather than punishing it through overtraining, can be a more efficient route to fat loss, especially for people short on time or motivation. One of the most surprising tools is cold exposure. The body burns calories to maintain core temperature, and Ferriss demonstrates how this thermogenic effect can be harnessed deliberately. Wearing an ice pack on the upper back and neck for 20 minutes, taking cold showers, or even submerging in ice baths can activate brown adipose tissue, BAT, which consumes energy to generate heat. In tests, some individuals burned hundreds of extra calories per day without setting foot in a gym. The method isn't pleasant, but it's effective, and importantly, it requires no time investment beyond setup. Another key principle is insulin management. Insulin is the hormone most responsible for storing fat, and by keeping its levels low and steady, fat loss becomes much easier. Ferriss outlines several tactics to flatten the insulin curve: eating a high-protein, low-carb breakfast within 30 minutes of waking, consuming slow-digesting carbs like legumes instead of sugars and starches, and avoiding domino foods that lead to overeating. He also notes the value of pre-meal strategies like consuming a tablespoon of vinegar or lemon juice to blunt insulin response. A small action with measurable impact. Timing plays a critical role too. Ferriss emphasizes that when you eat can be as important as what you eat. For example, consuming carbohydrates immediately after a resistance training session, even minimal bodyweight work, can enhance nutrient partitioning, directing calories to muscle instead of fat. Even walking for 10 minutes after a meal can significantly reduce blood glucose spikes, which over time translates into better body composition. Supplements are discussed as enhancers, not magic bullets. PEG, a stack of polycosanol, alpha-lipoic acid, green tea extract, and garlic extract, is highlighted for its potential to aid fat loss through thermogenesis and improved insulin sensitivity. Each component has supporting data, and Ferriss urges readers to test their own response rather than blindly follow. The broader insight is that fat loss doesn't need to be driven by sweat. With the right inputs, cold, timing, targeted supplementation, and food sequencing, your body can be nudged into a more efficient fat-burning mode. This reframing offers both hope and a challenge. Are you willing to experiment intelligently, even if it means skipping the treadmill? Point 8. Reaching extreme human potential. There's a point at which the goals shift from getting healthier to seeing how far the human body can be pushed. In the 4-Hour Body, Ferriss ventures beyond fat loss and muscle gain into a zone where performance borders on the extreme, testing limits not because it's necessary, but because it's possible. One of the standout case studies involves increasing vertical jump. Most people assume jump height is genetic or fixed by adolescence. But with biomechanical adjustments and strength sequencing, Ferriss documents double-digit percentage increases in a matter of weeks. The secret wasn't leg presses, it was neurological priming. By using exercises like kettlebell swings and post-activation potentiation, PAP, protocols, athletes learn to recruit explosive force more efficiently. It's not about building bigger muscles, it's about teaching the body to fire them all at once. In the realm of endurance, Ferriss profiles ultra-distance runner Dean Karnazes and dives into experiments with pacing, fuel timing, and even mental distraction techniques to sustain effort beyond traditional thresholds. One insight: when the body says it's done, it often has 40% of its capacity remaining. Ferriss puts this theory to the test in his own training by manipulating breath control and psychological triggers to bypass premature fatigue. A recurring theme in these experiments is control through feedback. Whether using a continuous glucose monitor, a heart rate variability tracker, or even basic stopwatch data, elite performance comes from removing guesswork. Ferriss trains with real-time biofeedback to identify when the body is in peak performance windows and when it needs to pull back. He also experiments with techniques from sports psychology, like mental scripting and visualization, to boost performance without a single extra rep. One of the more unusual feats involves a 1-rep max deadlift that nearly doubles in a short time frame, not through traditional programming, but through neurological adaptation. By using isometric holds and increasing grip strength, Ferriss activates stabilizer muscles and spinal engagement, turning a once-average lift into a PR in less than a month. These aren't parlor tricks, they're refinements of what top coaches already understand. The nervous system is the gatekeeper of strength. What ties these stories together isn't brute force. It's precision, curiosity, and the willingness to test boundaries with data and discipline. Extreme performance isn't about being born gifted. It's about identifying leverage points and applying them with intention. Whether you want to jump higher, run farther, or lift more than you thought possible, the blueprint is already being written by those willing to experiment and document the results. Point 9. Tracking, testing, and self-experimentation. Change starts with measurement. That's one of the foundational principles behind Ferriss's approach to self-optimization in the 4-Hour Body. Whether the goal is fat loss, muscle gain, hormonal balance, or endurance, tracking your inputs and outputs transforms vague ambition into actionable data. Without measurement, it's nearly impossible to know what's working or what's holding you back. Ferriss encourages readers to become their own human guinea pigs, but not in a reckless way. His methodology follows a clear framework: define a hypothesis, isolate variables, run short experiments, and measure outcomes objectively. That last part, measurement, is where the real transformation happens. Subjective feelings are unreliable. Numbers provide clarity. Blood testing is one of the most powerful tools in the self-experimenter's arsenal. Ferriss outlines a handful of key biomarkers that can reveal far more than surface-level symptoms. Testosterone levels, A1C, a marker of blood sugar regulation, CRP, inflammation, and thyroid panels all provide insights that can inform dietary choices, supplement use, and training protocols. Rather than relying on annual doctor visits, he recommends quarterly testing using services like WellnessFX or local labs. Continuous glucose monitoring, CGM, is another high-leverage tool. Even for non-diabetics, real-time feedback on how specific foods spike blood sugar can lead to smarter eating decisions. Ferriss uses this data to refine meal timing, carb choices, and supplement timing to blunt insulin spikes and improve energy stability. For instance, he discovered that lentils produced significantly better glucose responses than other healthy carbs like oatmeal or quinoa, an insight most people wouldn't catch without direct tracking. Body metrics go beyond weight and BMI. Ferriss suggests recording circumference measurements, waist, hips, arms, body fat percentage, using DEXA or caliper testing, and even photographic progress on a weekly basis. These metrics provide a multidimensional view of physical change that the scale alone can't capture. What sets Ferriss apart isn't just the tools, it's how he uses them. Each experiment is short, focused, and tied to a measurable goal. He doesn't recommend trying everything at once. Instead, he advocates testing one change at a time, over 2 to 4 weeks, and then assessing the data. Did energy improve? Did sleep get deeper? Did strength numbers rise? This method turns the body into a feedback loop. You act, you measure, and you adapt. In doing so, you become not just the subject of the experiment, but the scientist running it. Over time, this habit of tracking and testing builds self-awareness that no fitness app or expert plan can replace. It's not about biohacking for the sake of novelty. It's about building a system that reveals what actually works for you. Point 10. Conclusion. Change often begins not in the gym or the kitchen, but in the mind. Throughout the 4-hour body, Ferriss returns to a quiet but critical theme. Physical transformation is as much about belief systems as it is about protocols. The most advanced training plan in the world won't help someone who doesn't believe real change is possible for them. Conversely, small, imperfect actions can yield massive results when guided by the right mindset. At the core of Ferriss's approach is the idea that assumptions should be challenged, not accepted. Many people carry around invisible rules. I can't gain muscle, I have bad genetics, or losing weight takes months of suffering. These aren't facts, they're inherited scripts, often untested. Ferriss invites readers to view their bodies as systems, not mysteries. Systems can be measured, they can be improved, and most importantly, they can be redesigned. One way to break these mental limits is through experimentation. Not grand declarations, but short, controlled trials. Try one dietary change for 2 weeks. Test a new sleep habit. Track how your body responds. This process removes emotion from the equation. You're not committing to a new identity overnight. You're simply running an experiment and gathering data. That shift reduces resistance and builds momentum. Belief also expands when evidence accumulates. Seeing blood markers improve, watching waistlines shrink, or lifting a heavier weight creates feedback loops that reinforce action. Ferriss shows how early wins, especially those achieved with minimal effort, build self-efficacy. The belief becomes, if that worked, what else is possible? Systems thinking helps sustain that momentum. Rather than relying on motivation, which fluctuates, Ferriss encourages the creation of routines and constraints that make success more automatic. Batch your meals. Schedule workouts at the same time each week. Use environmental cues, like a preset gym bag or a kitchen free of junk food, to reduce decision fatigue. These aren't hacks, they're behavioral scaffolding. To move forward, ask, what are 3 beliefs I hold about my body that I've never tested? What's one assumption I can challenge this month? What would it look like if transformation didn't require struggle, but curiosity? Transformation starts with results, but sustained by mindset. And mindset begins with questioning the stories we tell ourselves. The body may be the focus of the work, but belief is the foundation it stands on. Redesigning your body, ultimately, means giving yourself permission to become someone new.